There are places in this world, not marked on any map, not listed in any travel warning, that are far more dangerous than any physical threat you could encounter. These are the places that do not destroy your body but something far more precious. They destroy your true self, your authentic being, your connection to what you actually are, beneath all the layers of conditioning and performance and social adaptation. And the most insidious thing about these dangerous places is that society tells you they are safe, that they are necessary, that you should spend your life in them. But every moment you remain in these places, you lose a little more of yourself until one day you wake up and realize you have become a stranger to your own soul. If you have been feeling lost, disconnected, like you are living someone else's life, then chances are you have been spending too much time in one or more of these 7 dangerous places. And the path back to yourself requires recognizing these places for what they are and having the courage to leave them, even when everyone around you insists you should stay. These are the territories where the true self goes to die. Slowly, invisibly, while everyone applauds your success and admires your adaptation. Let me show you these 7 dangerous places so that you can recognize them, so that you can understand why you feel so empty despite appearing so successful, so that you can begin the journey back to your authentic self before it is too late. Because once you lose yourself completely in these places, the way back becomes almost impossible to find. The trail disappears, the compass stops working, and you become permanently lost in a life that looks good from the outside but feels hollow from within. Before we explore these dangerous territories, if you recognize yourself in what I am describing, if you have felt this disconnection from your true self, leave your like on this video, subscribe to the channel for more truth about the traps we fall into, and in the comments tell me, which of these places have you been lost in? Where did you lose yourself? Share your experience so others know they are not alone. Now, let me reveal the 7 dangerous places. The first dangerous place is the land of others' expectations. This is perhaps the most populated place on earth because almost everyone spends at least some time here, and many people never leave. This is the territory where you live according to what others think you should do, should be, should want. Your parents have expectations, your partner has expectations, your friends, your colleagues, your culture, your society all have expectations, and in the land of others' expectations, you spend your entire life trying to meet them, trying to live up to them, trying to become what others believe you should be. The danger here is subtle because the expectations often come wrapped in love and concern. Your parents want you to be successful, so they expect you to pursue certain careers, achieve certain milestones, live a certain kind of life. Your partner wants security, so they expect you to be stable, predictable, committed in specific ways. Your friends want you to remain familiar, so they expect you to stay consistent with who you have always been. And all of these expectations, however well-intentioned, are cages. They are invisible bars that keep you from discovering and expressing your true self. Diego, the 19th of November 2025, 8:27. When you live in the land of others' expectations, you are always performing. You are always adjusting yourself to fit the image that others have of you. You are always suppressing the parts of yourself that do not conform to what is expected. And over time you lose touch with what you actually want, what you actually feel, who you actually are. You become a composite of everyone's expectations, a patchwork person with no authentic center. And the tragedy is that even when you successfully meet all these expectations, even when you become exactly what everyone wanted you to be, you feel empty, because you have achieved someone else's dreams, lived someone else's life, become someone else's version of who you should be. The second dangerous place is the kingdom of comfort. This is the place where everything is safe, familiar, predictable. Nothing challenges you here. Nothing pushes you beyond your current limits. Nothing invites you to grow or change or discover new dimensions of yourself. The kingdom of comfort is seductive because it promises security, and security is what most people crave above all else. But what it actually delivers is stagnation disguised as stability, death disguised as safety. When you live in the kingdom of comfort, you stop growing. Growth requires discomfort, it requires challenge, it requires stepping into the unknown and facing what scares you. But in the kingdom of comfort, you avoid all of this. You stay in the relationship that no longer serves you because leaving would be uncomfortable. You remain in the career that bores you because change would be risky. You keep the same habits, the same routines, the same patterns year after year because they are familiar, and familiarity feels safe. But here is the truth that the kingdom of comfort does not advertise. Safety is not the same as aliveness. Predictability is not the same as fulfillment. Comfort is not the same as joy. When you prioritize comfort above all else, when you organize your entire life around avoiding discomfort, you create a life that is safe but suffocating, secure but you become like a plant in a pot that is too small. You survive, yes, but you never reach your full height. You never spread your roots, you never become what you were meant to be. The third dangerous place is the city of comparison. This is the place where you are constantly measuring yourself against others, where your worth is determined by how you stack up in the endless rankings and competitions that define modern life. In the city of comparison, nothing is ever enough because there is always someone with more, someone doing better, someone who has achieved what you have not. And so you spend your life chasing, striving, trying to close the gap between where you are and where you think you should be based on where others are. The city of comparison is particularly toxic because it disconnects you from your own unique path and makes you obsessed with everyone else's journey. You stop asking, what do I actually want, and start asking, what do I need to have to be as good as them? You stop measuring success by your own internal criteria and start measuring it by external markers, the ones society has decided indicate worth and achievement. And here is the cruel irony. Even when you win in the city of comparison, even when you finally surpass those you were comparing yourself to, you do not feel satisfied. You just find new people to compare yourself to, new ways in which you are lacking, new evidence that you are not enough. Because comparison is a game that cannot be won. It is a hamster wheel that spins faster the harder you run. And while you are busy comparing yourself to others, while you are obsessed with rankings and status and relative position, your true self withers from neglect. Because your true self does not care about comparison. It cares about authenticity, about expression, about becoming fully what it is meant to be regardless of what anyone else is doing. The fourth dangerous place is the desert of distraction. This is the vast wasteland where people go to avoid themselves, to escape the discomfort of their own presence, to fill the void with noise and stimulation and constant activity. In the desert of distraction, you are never still, never quiet, never alone with your own thoughts and feelings. There is always something to watch, something to scroll, something to consume, something to do. And this constant distraction creates the illusion that you are living, that you are engaged with life, when actually you are running from it. The desert of distraction is dangerous because it prevents self-knowledge. You cannot know yourself if you are never with yourself. You cannot understand what you truly want if you never create the space to feel and reflect. You cannot hear the quiet voice of your authentic self if you are always drowning it out with external noise. And so you wander the desert, moving from one distraction to the next, always busy but never fulfilled, always occupied but never truly engaged, always consuming but never satisfied. What makes this place particularly insidious is that distractions are now infinite and always available. You can spend your entire life in the desert of distraction without ever running out of things to distract yourself with. Entertainment, social media, news, shopping, work, even relationships and self-improvement can become distractions when used to avoid the deeper work of facing yourself. And the longer you stay in this desert, the more afraid you become of the oasis of stillness and silence. The more terrified you are of what you might discover if you actually stopped and listened to what is happening inside you. The fifth dangerous place is the prison of the past. This is where you live in memory, where your present is completely overshadowed by what has already happened, where you cannot move forward because you are chained to what was. In the prison of the past, you are constantly replaying old scenes, rehashing old wounds, clinging to old identities, defining yourself by things that are over and done. And this prevents you from being present, from engaging with what is actually happening now, from discovering who you are becoming. Some people live in the prison of the past because they are traumatized, stuck in painful experiences they have not processed or healed. They keep returning to the scene of the wound, unable to move beyond it, unable to free themselves from its grip. Others live here because they are nostalgic, because the past seems better than the present, because they had a golden age that has passed and they spend all their time wishing they could return to it. And still others live here because their past achievements have become their identity, and they cannot let go of who they were to discover who they might become. Whatever the reason, the prison of the past is deadly to the true self because the true self exists only in the present moment. It is not a fixed thing that was established in the past and must remain unchanged forever. It is a living, evolving, constantly emerging reality that can only be encountered now, in this moment. When you are trapped in the past, when you define yourself by what has already happened, you cut yourself off from the creative possibility of the present. You become a memorial to yourself, a monument to what was unable to be what is trying to emerge. The sixth dangerous place is the future's fantasy land. This is the mirror image of the prison of the past, the place where you live entirely in imagination, in plans and dreams and some days, always preparing for a life you will live once certain conditions are met. In the future's fantasy land, you are constantly saying, when I lose the weight, when I make the money, when I meet the right person, when I get the promotion, when the kids grow up, when I retire, then I will really start living. Then I will be happy. Then I will be my true self. Diego, 19 de noviembre de 2025, las 8:27. But here is what happens in future's fantasy land. The future never arrives, because as soon as you reach one milestone, you create a new one. As soon as one condition is met, you invent another condition that must be satisfied first. You spend your entire life preparing to live, planning to be happy, getting ready to be authentic. And you never actually arrive. You never actually begin. You never actually become, because you are always focused on some future version of yourself rather than being present to who you are right now. The danger of future's fantasy land is that it makes your present life provisional, temporary, something to be endured rather than lived. Your job is just temporary until you get the real job. Your home is just temporary until you get the real home. Your body is just temporary until you transform it into the ideal body. Your relationships are just temporary until you find the real relationship. Everything is placeholder, everything is rehearsal, everything is waiting for the real life that will begin someday in the future. And meanwhile, your actual life, the only life you will ever have, is passing you by unlived, unappreciated, unspid. The seventh and most dangerous place of all is the Hall of Mirrors. This is the place of pure performance, where you have become completely identified with the image you present to others, where you have confused the persona with the person, where you have mistaken the mask for the face. In the Hall of Mirrors, you are constantly adjusting yourself based on how others see you, constantly curating your image, constantly performing the version of yourself that gets the best response. And after enough time in the Hall of Mirrors, you forget there was ever anything behind the image. You forget that the performance was meant to be temporary. You become the mask. This is the most dangerous place because once you are fully lost in the Hall of Mirrors, you cannot find your way back to your true self. You have become so identified with the performance that stopping the performance feels like death. You have built your entire life, your entire sense of self, your entire identity around the image. And to remove that image, to stop performing, to reveal what is actually underneath would mean dismantling everything you have built, disappointing everyone who knows you as the image, becoming vulnerable in ways that feel terrifying. The Hall of Mirrors is particularly prevalent in the age of social media, where everyone is constantly performing, constantly curating, constantly presenting carefully edited versions of themselves. But it existed long before social media. It exists anywhere that appearance matters more than essence, anywhere that the image is valued more than the reality, anywhere that you are rewarded for the mask and punished for authenticity. And once you become lost in this hole, once you can no longer distinguish between the real you and the performed you have lost your true self entirely. Now, having described these 7 dangerous places, I must tell you something that might be difficult to hear. You probably live in more than one of these places. Most people do. You might have a job in the land of others' expectations while maintaining a home in the kingdom of comfort. You might vacation in the city of comparison while storing your belongings in the prison of the past. You might commute through the desert of distraction on your way to future's fantasy land. And many people have permanent residence in the Hall of Mirrors while maintaining properties in all the other locations. The point is not to judge yourself for being in these places. The point is to recognize them, to see them clearly, to understand what they cost you. Because once you see these places for what they are, once you understand how they destroy your true self, you can begin to leave them. You can begin the journey back to authenticity, back to presence, back to the living reality of who you actually are beneath all the conditioning and performance and adaptation. And here's what you need to understand about leaving these dangerous places. It is hard, it requires courage. It demands that you disappoint people, that you risk security, that you face discomfort. It means stopping the performances that have defined you, releasing the comparisons that have motivated you, letting go of the past that has imprisoned you and the future that has hypnotized you. It means becoming still enough to know yourself, present enough to be yourself, brave enough to express yourself even when it disappoints or confuses or threatens those around you. But the alternative is to remain lost, to continue wandering these dangerous territories until your true self is so buried, so forgotten, so destroyed, that it can never be recovered. The alternative is to reach the end of your life and realize you never actually lived it. That you spent all your years in these dangerous places while your real life, your authentic self, your true purpose remained undiscovered and unexpressed. So if you recognize yourself in these 7 dangerous places, if you can see how they have been destroying your true self slowly and invisibly, then let this be your wake-up call. Let this be the moment you decide to leave to begin the journey back to yourself, to reclaim the authentic being that has been buried under layers of expectation and comfort and comparison and distraction and past and future and performance. The journey back is not easy, but it is necessary. It is the most important journey you will ever take, because your true self is not a luxury. It is not something you can live without and still call it living. It is the foundation of everything real in your life. Every genuine relationship, every meaningful work, every moment of true joy depends on you being connected to your authentic self. And as long as you remain in these 7 dangerous places, that connection is severed, that foundation is missing, and you are living a hollow imitation of life rather than life itself. Leave these places. Find your way back to yourself. The path is there, waiting for you to take the first step. And that first step is simply this: recognition. Seeing where you are, understanding what it costs you, and choosing, in this moment, to begin moving toward what is real.